So this might be the thinnest playable synth you can get right now, and it packs a crazy amount of features in a form factor that's quite similar to Apple's wireless computer keyboards. So it's called XSynth by ESI, which is also a super compact MIDI keyboard with polyphonic aftertouch, by the way, and an audio interface. So it's a very versatile device, super handy for traveling as it takes very little space in a backpack. Actually, significantly less space than your standard mini keys MIDI keyboard. And just to be clear, ESI were kind enough to send this unit over, but they are not paying me to make this video, nor do they have any input on the content. And as always, I will be as objective as possible, and I will list my pros and cons for the device towards the end of the video. And we're also gonna hear how the synth sounds in action in the context of actually making beats. So we're gonna get to the synth engine in a moment, but let me first tell you about the actual hardware. So the keyboard is actually the same as their X-Key MIDI controllers, and honestly at first I was skeptical of the key action, but surprisingly it's actually really nice and fun to play considering how little travel it has. Look, these are just like computer keyboard keys. And of course the keys are velocity sensitive, but the standout feature here is the polyphonic aftertouch, allowing you to press a bit harder on the keys and activate some expression or modulation. So in terms of width, the keys are actually full size, and honestly I prefer them to mini keys. They're really nice to play. And the body of the synth is made out of aluminum, and the build quality is pretty nice. But what surprised me the most was that the modulation and pitch bend buttons actually work really well to replace regular wheels that you get on most keyboards. The modulation button is actually pressure sensitive, so it's easy to control the amount of modulation by varying the force you apply to it. And the pitch bend button also works really well for adding manual vibrato when playing. A really quick look on the back of the device. We have USB-C for power, and for connecting to a computer we have MIDI out, MIDI in, headphones, line out, and an input for the built-in audio interface. And yes, you can record the synth in your DAW with just the USB cable. It does send audio over USB. So it's a great all-in-one device, but what about the synth engine inside? If you like the sounds of virtual analog synths or romplers from like the early 2000s, you will probably like this one too. It's a subtractive synth that features single cycle sampled waveforms, and yes, they are not super realistic analog emulations. However, I really liked the character of the synth, and the sampled waveforms give it a huge palette of timbres that you can get out of it. So what you heard was the raw sound coming straight from XSynth, and here's how it sounded after some minimal processing in Ableton Live. I just added some reverb and the obligatory sidechain compression. I don't think I even used EQ on this one at all, and it all sits pretty nicely in the mix. in terms of waveforms, obviously you have your standard virtual analog stuff. But then you have some more interesting waveforms. And just to be clear, these are the actual raw waveforms, these are not the presets. Even some basic piano waveforms. But yeah, you have all these environmental sounds like rain, street, thunder, all kinds of Foley sounds added as waveforms. Also, we have drum kits. Oh, and I forgot to mention the polyphony of the synth is up to 10 voices, but I think it doesn't go lower than 8. So between 8 and 10. Let's check out another musical example, and again, all sounds come from XSynth except for the drums, which I've made myself. On this one I did boost the bass a bit with an EQ, but other than that pretty much the same as the previous example, just a bit of reverb and some sidechain compression. And so the editing interface on the keyboard isn't too bad in terms of menu diving. I expected it to be worse, but you have dedicated buttons for each section of the synth right on the front panel. But the synth engine is quite capable and rich in terms of features, so I think you're better off using the software editor provided by ESI. This gives us an overview and quick access to the whole synth engine. So we have 3 oscillators with a gang of cool waveforms, a multi-mode filter that does have some stepping when tweaking it with the knob on the front panel. Honestly, I actually liked the filter and how it interacts with the filter envelope to create punchy funk basses and leads. So speaking of envelopes, we have 3 of them, 3 LFOs, a 16-slot modulation matrix, 3 effects and an EQ. Also we have an arpeggiator. So it's a very standard but also really capable synth engine. It does everything you'd expect it to do. And I found it quite easy to get very cool sounds out of it. And the stock presets are okay, some are really nice, some are not so nice, but that would depend on the style of music that you make, and you have 256 of them and 256 free slots for your own creations. So even if it's far from an authentic analog sound, XSynth is quite capable of making huge bass sounds, like this one for example. Oh, and And by the way, the audio interface is actually pretty high quality. It has a 24-bit 96 kHz converter, and crucially for Windows users, ESI provide a dedicated ASIO driver for it. So we can get proper low latency and smooth operation. And a lot of these devices with built-in audio interfaces don't have dedicated ASIO drivers. For example, even Roland couldn't be bothered to make one for the SP404 Mark II. So even though I use a Mac in my studio and I don't need the driver, I'm glad to see that ESI are not treating Windows users as second-class citizens. But one thing I didn't quite like here was the fact that the audio interface only works at 96 kHz. Maybe this can be changed with a firmware update, I have no idea. But this audio interface feature will come really handy for iPad and iPhone producers, providing audio input and output plus MIDI control with just a single USB-C cable. Now, if you don't need the synth and the audio interface, their X-key MIDI keyboards are cheaper and also have options with more keys. And they also have a Bluetooth option. So let's sum it up. I like the character of the synth. It's a pretty powerful synth engine. It can make a very wide variety of sounds. Well-built, surprisingly playable keyboard. I don't think you can get a better keyboard that's so compact, and the fact that it's an all-in-one makes it very practical for carrying around. It's just a really unique concept and pretty well executed. It's like a Swiss Army knife for music producers. As for the cons, there is some stepping when tweaking the filter with the knob, which again honestly didn't bother me, but some people may be bothered by it. And there's also no sustained pedal input. It would have been nice if we had that. And as I mentioned, the audio interface only works at 96 kHz for some reason. As far as the price goes, at €365, I wouldn't call it cheap, but the price is generally similar to other digital synths like, let's say, the Novation Mini Nova or the original Microcork. And the addition of the audio interface, polyphonic aftertouch, and the extreme portability make it a fair deal if you need this kind of device in this form factor. So I can definitely recommend it, and I will put an affiliate link to Thomann in the description of the video. So if you get it from that link, it helps support the channel. And I know how some people feel about reviews with affiliate links, but if you check out my other reviews, you will see that I put such links only for products that I can genuinely recommend. So like and subscribe if you like what you saw, and here's another keyboard review for you to check out, and I will catch you later.